Welcome back, strangers. Derry is a fictional town in Maine that Stephen King has used as the setting for It in several of his books and short stories. With It Chapter 2 coming out this week, I wanted to talk about a couple of towns in America that remind me of Derry.
Do you want a balloon?
I found this legend on Reddit about the hometown of user TheNickMonster1000. The town is Ellicott City in Maryland, just outside of Baltimore, and is the county seat of Howard County and has a population of over 65,000 people. The historic district of Ellicott has the oldest surviving train station in the country, and the area has a lot of history. It is often referred to as Old Ellicott or Historic Ellicott City. Of course, like any historic city in the United States, Ellicott City has its fair share of ghost stories and local legends. One legend is of a family that abducted children in the woods surrounding Main Street in Ellicott City. In the early 1800s, dozens of children began disappearing from Ellicott Mills. They seemed to have vanished without a trace, but many of their parents were suspicious of Edwin Gravely. He was the youngest son of the unpopular Gravely family, and many of the children were last seen speaking to Edwin before they disappeared. The Gravely family were outcasts. Many considered them to be strange, and their neighbors often complained of loud noises coming from the family's home at night. The townspeople grew angrier as more and more children continued to disappear. Yet, local police would not search or question the Gravely family. An angry mob formed out of the lack of justice and stormed the Gravely mill in search of any clues to what happened to the town's missing children. But the family had vanished. The building was empty, and there was no trace that the family had ever lived or worked there. Some believed that the despicable family had fled in fear, but many believed they had only disappeared back into the thick woods surrounding the town to live in isolation. The town eventually forgot about the missing family, and things eventually returned to normal. Most hadn't thought of the lost children for years, until 1869, when 7 children disappeared in 1 week. Older residents feared that the Graveleys had returned to claim more of the town's children, but no one else disappeared. It was strange, but the disappearances were isolated. Locals ended up blaming a troubled soldier from the Civil War for the missing children. However, no one was ever tried or convicted for the crimes. The fears of the Gravely family slowly disappeared with time, but groups of children were still disappearing every few decades. In 1910 and in October of 1969, there were an unusually high number of unsolved cases of children's disappearances in the area, but both times local authorities believed the missing children were mostly the result of runaways and didn't involve foul play. Each decade, the legend of the Gravely family grows. Locals are starting to believe the family may still be hiding in the woods around Ellicott City, still preying on the town's children every few decades. Parents often warn their kids to be extra careful, especially in October, because you don't want to be taken by the Graveleys to their hidden mill in the woods. This sounds like a fun and creepy legend to tell your kids, but archaeologists working along the Tiber River in Ellicott City recently discovered historical documents that may link back to the mythical Gravely family. The documents mention a disagreement of ownership of land between 2 men, Mr. Ellicott, the man the city is named after, and a Mr. Gravely. Many think that this Mr. Gravely was the head of the Gravely clan from the local legend. Every day, children are reported missing across America, but last July, 9 children were reported missing in Maryland around the Baltimore metropolitan area, which includes Ellicott City. Is the Gravely family still terrorizing the area surrounding their old mill? Or is Ellicott City more like Derry, Maine from It, and something is feeding on the unfortunate children in the area every few decades? Strangers, would you visit or live in the beautiful Ellicott City? Stephen King has said that Derry is located near Bangor, a real city of 33,000 people in Maine. King has also acknowledged that Derry was named after a county in Ireland, and is his own personal portrayal of a darker Bangor. Another small town in America that reminds me of Derry is Point Pleasant, West Virginia, which has its own stories of a humanoid monster that terrorizes the town and is thought to bring misfortune or warn of danger. From November 12, 1966 to December 15, 1967, the people of Point Pleasant, West Virginia reported encountering a winged humanoid creature with red eyes. The press dubbed him the Mothman, after an old Batman villain. Those who encountered the mysterious creature said it stood 7 feet tall and had a wingspan of 10 to 15 feet. They claimed that the creature had the ability to fly over 100 miles per hour. Those who encountered the Mothman suffered from extreme fear and psychological distress for months and sometimes years after seeing the strange creature. Many said they felt the sense of pure evil come over them when they looked into the creature's eyes. On December 15, 1967, the silver bridge that connected Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and Gallipolis, Ohio, collapsed during rush hour traffic. This resulted in the deaths of 46 people. Official reports say the tragedy was a result of a combination of the bridge's age, poor maintenance, and an increased traffic load. However, many reported seeing Mothman before or during the collapse. After the silver bridge collapsed, sightings of the Mothman came to an end. Was the Mothman responsible for the bridge collapse? Journalist John Kill and many locals hypothesized that Mothman was a precognitive being that was sent to warn people of impending tragedy. Others believe that Mothman and the unfortunate events that occur in Point Pleasant are the result of a curse placed on the land by the Shawnee chief Warrenstock. After the Battle of Point Pleasant, the war chief made peace with the American settlers. However, the peace only lasted a year before a group of American soldiers assassinated him. Before his passing, it is said that Cornstalk cursed the surrounding area with his dying breath. I believe the Mothman is really like the creature from Stephen King's It, and Mothman is the real curse of Point Pleasant. The Mothman awakens to an unfortunate event in Point Pleasant, and doesn't return to hibernation until an even greater tragedy occurs. Supposedly the Mothman was sighted before the bloody Battle of Point Pleasant, way before the supposed curse was even carried out. The Mothman was spotted again during the American Civil War in West Virginia. Both of these sightings came during great tragedies. Then you have the Great Coal Mine Disaster of 1907, which resulted in 310 fatalities on December 6, 1907. In June of 1944, a freak tornado devastated the tri-state area, which resulted in 150 fatalities. Both of these events brought sightings of a strange flying humanoid creature that matched the description of the Mothman. Point Pleasant itself is very similar to Derry, Maine. Both are small towns that are plagued by tragedy. Strangers, which town reminds you the most of Derry? Are you excited to see It Chapter 2? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to The Strangest if you're new. Smash that bell button so you never miss out on one of our videos. It helps us out so much. And as always, stay strange.